Oh my god, there's an ugly fucker on the screen.
Do you want to see me helmet?
Where's that coming from? No.
In between my legs.
Hang on.
He's not very prepared.
I can hear you loud and clear. Hello, hello. I used to be black. Hello. Did you have a nice bimbo? Happy New Year, by the way, boys.
When was the last time we recorded?
Just before Christmas.
Was it?
You were in the bedroom.
Seems like only yesterday.
Yesterday.
Wait, including Craig.
Yes.
All my troubles seem so far away. Oh, a little clapping emoji.
All right, Grandad.
Right, okay.
You've had your fun.
Are you working in the morning?
I'm not. I'm off tomorrow. Although I've got my parent governor head on tomorrow, so I'm looking at the accounts of the school.
They let you near schools?
I am drinking, but I've been dry this year.
Are you dry Januarying? I'm
trying to dry for the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah?
As best I can. So, Beck's Blue.
Okay. How's that going for you?
Do you know what, right? It's amazing.
I've had some before, but it's a bit like coffee with me. I wouldn't drink it for the taste, really.
Alcohol serves a function, and it is to get pissed.
Exactly. And the problem with me is there's no point having 2 or 3 cans.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
I know what you mean.
It doesn't get you where you need to go. You need 10.
I've got these. I've got a bottle of whiskey on standby just in case.
You don't need that many cups.
I do, because look, see that? Is that the right way round?
Yeah.
That's the first one. And then you move on to that one.
Oh, that up a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we
so
go. That's
for the podcast audience, the first one says sober, the second one says drunk.
Do you want to maybe sort out the cameras?
The third one says pissed. Oh yeah, we haven't started. We haven't started our camera. The fourth one says shitface. I'm just totally disorganised. Hang on.
Didn't notice.
I was ready at 1:45, and then you came down and started talking like a fucking.
I just started laughing at you being a knob.
Is all your hair gone?
Oh Jesus! Can I get the camera back, please? Yes.
It's all gone?
It's gone, yeah.
Wow. How much did you have?
How much?
Yeah.
How much what?
Hair?
How do you measure hair?
Yeah. What are the units of... it was halfway down my back.
Yeah, that's so feet then. Like 2 feet of hair?
Probably.
Wow.
3 years worth, whatever that is.
Do you feel different?
It's colder.
Yeah, I would imagine. I had a little trim the other day, and the side of my head's freezing.
Uh-huh.
How are you doing?
I said we'd be ready by 9, but I was lying.
I'm all right, you know. I was up at 5:30 this morning, 10-hour shift.
Ouch.
Yeah, wasn't too bad, though. I got me train to Wolverhampton, ran over the bridge, got on a cross-country train to Stafford, and the Liverpool train was there for me to jump on.
Cool.
So got back 50 minutes early. Boom.
Right. Shall we get on?
That is a big bottle of something.
Staropramen. It's not, we're midgets.
It's
standard size. We're just
is that
midgets.
like Jeremy Beadle hand?
No, you see, last time when you said that looked really big in his hand. Yeah, it's Prague-ish. It's nice. I'd say try it, but you're doing the thing, aren't you?
Are you ready?
Yeah, I feel like I should get some earphones like yours because he's quite quiet in my ears.
You look like a Dalek.
You do.
Stavros.
Stavros.
No, Stavros. Isn't he a Greek chef or something in something?
Stavros. Stavros. I don't know.
No, Stavros is EasyJet boss, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Talking about exploitation.
Right, can we... You can have a natter later.
Go ahead then, crack on, lad. Crack on.
So says the boss.
Go ahead.
I'm waiting for it to finish so we can do the intro properly.
Do a big bear. Aye.
Hello, Internet. I'm Firebolt.
And I'm the Orbiter.
And I'm the Podfather. Yep.
He's back.
Otherwise known as Craig, generally known as Craig.
I just want to be known as Podfather now, please.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Father of all pods.
You've got a new thing coming up, haven't you? Is going straight into the subject of exploitation. He's asked me to prepare some music, unpaid, for a continuing podcast.
A continuing podcast.
And I should be proud to do so.
What is this?
Do you remember they all fucked off to Florida without us last year?
Right.
Well, they're carrying on doing that podcast that was talking about that.
Well, because Halloween Horror Nights is 30 is such a big event.
Yeah.
But it just seems a shame. We've got that feed there. We may as well use it. So we're going to watch, when there's an announcement, we're going to talk about the announcement. Ooh, it's an announcement. And then we're going to watch the film for the announcement. And then everyone can all rejoice and watch it with us.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
I haven't worked out how those watch party things work. Because surely they're copyrighted. Like,
well, there is them, but ours isn't that. We're just going to watch it and comment on it.
Right.
And then you can, if you've never seen the film, you can go and watch it too. If you have seen the film, you can say, oh, hey, you're talking shite.
So, exploitation. Yeah, do we do news first or what?
Quite a fair amount's happened since last one.
Christmas happened.
Well, yeah.
This is doing my head in because this goes out every 2 weeks, and the last episode, I've only just finished listening to it.
I loved the last episode.
It hasn't backfired on me yet.
I think you were on slightly better behaviour than usual, perhaps.
Me?
No, Craig.
Craig.
Me? I was thinking vodka neat.
He was talking about motting out sheep.
Oh, maybe. I don't remember.
You don't remember, do you? Maybe you should
deal.
Go back and listen to it.
Well,
and we ripped the shit out of a fellow podcaster. Well, fellow Twitter knob.
And maybe just nobody cares.
We've got a patron. Everybody all hail to the almighty Simon. Hello, Simon.
Oh, Simon, I'm going to be a patron. I'm going to be a patron tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to do it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can see all the uncut shit. And
everything.
We took it right down to $1 a month for everything now. So
I want you to dance for me in Marmite.
That's and I think that should be a new tier.
The Craig pervert tier, $100 a month.
$100.
Yeah,
I'll send you the jar of Marmite.
Okay, we'll send it down to 50.
Well, see, I'm a generic yeast extract person myself. I can't afford the branded stuff because our patrons are too stingy. Sorry, Simon, I didn't mean that. Yeah, he's getting a feed all to himself at the moment.
Oh, I love Simon.
Yeah, good old boy. We should get him on that. See, I don't know how many people use the contributors group regularly. So, because when we've had him on before, haven't we? With, I think, was it the same episode Nick was on?
Yeah, it was children. Although Simon doesn't have any children.
So that was.
Yeah, I think Nick came on like halfway through or something.
But we used to be children.
Mm.
Yeah, we did talk a fair amount about that.
I still am.
Oh, I'm 46 now. That's happened since the last podcast record.
Oh, happy birthday.
Another year closer to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like at that age, it's not really a happy birthday. It's like, hooray, you made it through the year. You're now older.
Yeah, but you're a cunt.
Like, I've got something to look forward to.
What the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
When I'm 18, I can
We know what it is you've got to look forward to.
When you're 18, you can go and live in a cave in the Highlands of Scotland and fight for your life as planet Earth dies.
Yeah, as the English invade.
Well, that's true. But I have some things to look forward to, like in my life, I suppose.
You won't have to go abroad for
You
a
just got
suntan.
old age.
Well,
Shitting yourself.
Yeah, but you'll be wiping his arse.
He's going nowhere near my arse.
Good to hear.
I'll be fitter than you by that time.
Will you?
Yeah, if I've managed to keep going to the gym. This is not talking about... What is this podcast?
Undefined.
So, do we do news, or can I just dive into the one thing that I was thinking about asking?
Let's do the news first, as is the norm, I think.
There's been 80,000 people marching for independence yesterday in Glasgow.
Yeah.
Was that reported on?
Well, that's the thing. I had to go looking for it. Like,
I haven't watched any news today because I've been driving trains.
It's only about third or fourth on the BBC headlines page, I think. So, but I mean, with the stuff that's going on in Iran, I suppose that's fair enough.
Which brings us to World War III. Looking forward to it.
Now, I'm a little bit puzzled over this because hasn't the Iranians been winding America up for the last few weeks?
Well, yeah.
Like invading the embassy and stuff like that.
Do you know what?
That was in reaction to their top general being assassinated.
Have you seen?
I thought that was before.
Have you seen the film Argo?
I've been to Argos. No, I haven't.
It's pretty much, it's set in the 70s and it's a true story, but it's pretty much exactly the same plot as what happened last week, or it was the beginning of it anyway. Basically, all that shit kicks off in Tehran, and the Americans are stuck inside their embassy, desperately trying to shred papers before they get invaded and killed. And it's basically a story of how they escape. But it was heading in that direction. I thought this is when I got a bit kind of, do we ever learn? Because it's like, we're still doing this shit 50 years later.
So did Trump kick everything off, or did the Iranians tickle his underbelly first?
Well,
they've all been...
According to the White House, Iran posed an imminent threat. However, no evidence has really been provided for that yet. So they assassinated the top general in Iran, who's basically the second most powerful person in Iran. It would be like if someone went and offed the chancellor here and then expected us to just go, yep, that's a perfectly normal thing to do. Sajid Javid.
Oh, yeah. His name always freaks me out. It's a bit like...
A lot of eyes.
The thing with America is there's always a reason. So,
well, it's usually oil, isn't it? But I mean,
well, more cynical than that. There's a general election coming up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Fun fact: every Republican president, I should actually stress, since Reagan has declared a war shortly before an election.
There you go.
Well, the other thing is Iran are being a bit more careful than usual with him because I think they know that he's a bit unpredictable. Whereas...
They did shoot down a plane.
Yeah, it was a bit of a cock-up, wasn't it?
Recently, that actually had a lot of Iranians on it, as well as, I think, 30 or so Canadians.
It was a Ukrainian passenger plane, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did you know about that?
Yeah, well, yeah. Now...
that's been confirmed now.
I mean, I think Donald Trump's going to win again with a landslide because I don't think we've got all this far rightness out of our system just yet.
It worries me as well because I was watching 1917 yesterday at the cinema, and it's like, it worries me that there is that point at which things can just turn. Do you know what I mean? And once they do, it's kind of, if you're in the reasonable minority, if you like, you kind of either got to put yourself in danger or just live in fear. But let's not be depressed. Let's talk about positive things.
Happy New Year.
What date is it? This is going out this Thursday.
Is
Yep.
it?
Yeah. We'd have to wait
Well,
weeks
if
for
you
this.
edit it in time.
Oh.
You've still got the anniversary recording to edit, and that was meant to be out last month.
That was like 4 mics, 4 different cameras, a bit of a... Yeah, you slapping me in the face quite
Yes.
violently.
Kipper.
No, it was a fist.
You were being a knob.
That's what she said. How dare you?
Oh, you've got to sit up to burp, haven't you?
I guess.
So what else is happening in the news?
This isn't a major news story, but I've noticed that the government still hasn't released a report on the Russian interference in our elections, which they said that they would release after the elections, and now they're saying, oh, we need to appoint a special committee on it, but they're not actually going through the process to appoint that, which is their job.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing that that's quite relevant to you, is that the MPs voted not to continue with, or not to negotiate continuation in the Erasmus programme.
Yep. So, the program at my school's actually finished. It's just we continued the group that did that, and that was to raise awareness of environmental issues, but also just like put recycling bins around the school and make our school generally better for the environment.
You meant Cyberman, didn't you?
That's what I meant, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry? Oh, yeah.
He called me a Dalek. He meant Cyberman.
Yeah. I feel like I'm
In the minority.
not trapped in a room, but on a podcast with 2 insane people.
Wait till you get old, son. One thing, as you grow, right, one thing carries on growing, and that's your nose. And your ears. Your ears keep growing as well.
Good to know.
Look at the size of that now.
I don't really want to.
Fascinating podcast material.
Sorry, boys. You've got a little button nose, though, haven't you? Both of you.
That's because we're on a screen. Like you're quite
right, close up.
Yeah,
Is that better?
we've got one of those yellow baskets.
Oh, amazing.
I think
We've got up there's a jail for the phone.
a jail. Oh my god, that's an ace idea. Yeah, but just show that again, because you'd squeeze an iPhone through those bars, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but you'd have to have little fingers to get into the bars to sort of squeeze.
Right. I think we should talk about exploitation.
Go ahead, Dan.
I think
Or
we
you
need to
still
talk
the news?
a bit more about Iran, because it's quite worrying. Well, it's more worrying than usual because of who's in charge, basically. It's unpredictable.
I suppose from your perspective, yeah, I mean it has escalated and it's unpredictable. But
Yeah, but
remember,
hasn't it
we've
all calmed down now that they've shot the plane down? They've sort of had to just sort of backpedal a bit.
yeah, it's
Well, the thing is, still with Trump in charge, it feels like things aren't gonna just go away like that.
yeah, somebody could just do something that'll kick it all off again. Because the other thing is, as a result of this, there's now more troops in that area because he's sent resources over there, hasn't he? So it's kind of even if things kind of go back down to normal.
He sold a
there's more
bunch of
presence.
US troops to Saudi Arabia for $1 billion.
He did what?
He sold a bunch of US troops to Saudi Arabia for $1 billion.
$1 billion.
And they're likely using them in Yemen by now.
Plus, the arms traders are going to be making a bomb as well,
Well, yeah.
which is us, isn't it?
Literally. Making a bomb. See what you did there?
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it.
No, it's always been the same. It's just a question of how do you change it, you know. It's like
The thing is you're how old are you? 16.
Yeah.
You're more switched on than we were at 16. You've got more access, we had the 6 o'clock news, we had the newspaper, and we had an hourly news bulletin on the radio. You've got 24-hour news now, which just breeds fear within you. So it's Project Fear. So it makes you scared to leave the house. It makes you scared for your
it's
future.
not really like that scared to leave the house necessarily. It's just that I'm learning about a lot of human suffering that's outside of me, and I do care about that.
As an individual living in the Highlands of Scotland, there's very little you can do about that. You can write to your MP. You can become an MP. You can change the world. But at this present moment in time, there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing you can do.
You can change your immediate world.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. And remember, I mean, like Craig was saying, when I was growing up in the 80s, we got through it because we only had like the 6 o'clock news. But remember, the Russians and the Americans were pointing nuclear weapons at each other. And none of us thought we were going to make it to the year 2000 at that point. We thought World War III was going to... And that was it, with a background of AIDS kicking off at the time as well. And,
I mean, even if we don't kill ourselves with nuclear weapons, there's still... we're almost certainly going to be a fair amount underwater by the time I'm your age.
Yeah, so you just move inland.
But what's...
Yeah, but that's expensive, and there's a lot more people than... There will be a lot more people, and there's already issues with people fitting in.
Yeah, but the population will thin out.
Looking at the situation...
Disease will spread.
Unemotionally. Like, think of it. Yeah, think about the planet. What is there now? 8 billion people, is it?
7.7.
Yeah. So, like with any kind of biological system, it's like the Earth's just going to kind of use the resources it's got to kind of keep it under control, isn't it? It's famine and war and disease, and I mean, if we're not good for the planet will get rid of us.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, but I do care about humanity because, well, I'm a part of it, and also,
But does humanity care about you?
No, probably not. But
as long as you are the best you can be at whatever you do,
like this,
and strive to better, and the homeless person outside the co-op, just go and speak to them. If you can't afford to give them something, just say hello.
That was something I saw on the news the other day. It was a really good idea, and this is a positive bit of news. Have you heard of the Billy chip? Some young bloke who, I think older teens, I don't know how old he was. But anyway, he had this idea. He was talking to his parents one day about, because his mum and dad give to sort of charities quite a lot. And he was like saying, why do you never give money to homeless people? And his dad was like, well, it's not because we don't care. It's just that there's a kind of conflict of morality there because you don't know whether that's going to be spent on like alcohol or drugs or whatever. So it's always a bit of a difficult choice whether to actually give money to a homeless person. So the kid says to his dad, well, why do they not just have some kind of token system then where you can just like, you can't spend it on drugs or alcohol. So anyway, this kid went off on holiday and died. And this, to bring a good thing out of a bad thing, his parents then took the idea that he had and have started implementing it. And the local shops now, coffee shops and sandwich shops and stuff like that, will accept something called a Billy chip. When you go in and buy a coffee or a sandwich, you can say, I'll have a Billy chip as well. And that's like, say, £2, something like that. And then you go take that chip and you give it to a homeless person outside somewhere in the same town. And they can use it to buy like sandwiches or coffee or anything but not drugs. And it's called a Billy chip.
Yeah, and stuff like that is absolutely fantastic. Set up a food bank. Set up a food bank at your school. Just stuff like that. Make a difference.
Yeah. With that though, it's like compared to the stereotype, poor people and homeless people are far less likely to buy alcohol and drugs and drink heavily than rich people or
well,
middle income.
the thing is, right, whatever they're going to do with that money, right, they're sitting outside a shop for 8, 10, 12 hours a day in freezing weather, begging. Their life is, whatever they're doing with the money, their life is considerably worse than your life and my life and everybody who's walking past them. So even if they are buying a little bit of numbness to get through the day, then, point them in the direction. We've got the Whitechapel Centre in Liverpool that guarantees to get them a bed for the night. You will not sleep on the streets if you get put into the Whitechapel system. Yeah. You get a shower, you get meals, you get education, you get processed by the council. They try and find you accommodation, whether it's a hostel or whatever. You can make a change. Just that Billy Chip's a brilliant idea. So go round all your local shops and see if you can implement it in your area.
Yeah, I mean, Aberdeen would benefit from it. There's no homeless in Inch, I don't think. It's too small, but...
Oh, imagine being homeless in Aberdeen.
Yeah, it'd be fucking cold.
Oh, the weather up there.
Yeah, did you ever listen to my Better Call Paul episode when I interviewed that homeless guy?
Yeah.
That was a rough night.
Yeah. But it was quite emotional. It was very powerful.
It was... listening back to that afterwards, because obviously when I spoke to the guy, I was totally pissed, so I kind of just winging it. But then listening back to it when I was editing it, it was like, this is really, because it was one of those guys. I mean, there's a couple of guys in Aberdeen that you see out begging that are always in the same places, and you kind of do sort of half know them, don't you? But my kids are ace. We've been for pizza, and they've been and taken their leftovers to a beggar in the street outside afterwards. You know, when you get it boxed up.
Yeah.
Both Theo and Nienna have done that. It's just
stuff like that's amazing. Yeah. Just teaching your children.
Oh, I didn't teach them that. They just did.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because kids now are just taxied everywhere in the back of a car, and real world doesn't affect them.
But I feel like a lot of people are taught this sort of attitude of, oh, they're faking it, don't worry about them, just look ahead, don't think about them.
Yeah, but even if they are faking it, right?
So it's like you have to be in a pretty desperate situation to even fake it.
They're worse than yours, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I give a fella £3 the other day, the old ex-soldier sign. I'm an ex-soldier, and I just stopped and I had a chat with him, and he said he was moving into a house in Warrington the next day, and I said, well, why are you here now, mate? Why are you sitting on the floor now begging for money when tomorrow you're moving into a house?
Yeah.
Surely you've got stuff to be getting on with. And I'm going to have a look, see if he's there again, but he's still in a worse place than me.
Yeah.
So that's you've got no control over what's happening with the planet. You can try, just be the best you can be.
I'll tell you what I did notice. There's a hell of a lot of adverts on before films at the cinema now for electric cars, fully electric cars, and I'm thinking, like, it's great that it's moving that way, but they need to get the fucking infrastructure in place.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about things that you can do to change, I would definitely go for a fully electric car next time we renew our car.
But the cost of them is just so prohibitive.
And you can't guarantee you're going to be able to drive, be able to charge it on the road and, find places to...
Yeah, you might get to an Esso station. I think Esso is starting to roll charging points out at all the petrol stations. So people are, but what if you get there and there's a queue of peak cars to charge because there's only one charging?
Well, this is why hybrids are doing well, I suppose. But
also,
you've got to be in a
getting electricity that's actually sourced from renewable energy rather than fossil fuels as well.
Yeah, but as a country, we're so close, because there was days in the summer last year that Great Britain ran on renewable energy.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a week, it was only a few days. But they did it.
It's going in the right direction here, isn't it?
Yeah.
It'll happen. I mean, there's always going to be disasters and catastrophes going on.
Yeah, but like we could easily prevent a fair amount of them.
Yeah.
Well, I say easily, but it's sort of.
I suppose the thing is, whatever position you're in as a civilization, you can always do better. But I suppose you got to remember as well that you could also do worse. It's a pessimism optimism thing, isn't it? I mean, we could just be saying fuck it and just burning fossil fuels like there's no tomorrow, everywhere, and not even thinking about trying to move to renewables. That would obviously be a worse scenario. So I mean, we should always strive. We should always strive to do better, but it's not all doom and gloom.
Are talking about like a mass extinction event, it's hard to not to be a little bit doom and gloomy. I know it's not nice to hear, but I think that's part of why we're in this situation. People don't like what they don't fear, and today,
but what we're
it's that stages of grief thing. The first stage is denial.
But what we're talking about is getting through everyday life, day to day, without just kind of giving up on everything. Taking positive steps kind of requires the feeling that it's worth, that some hope.
Yeah, but it's sort of you can have that and still be aware and appalled at the situation around the world.
Yeah. What's his face? What's the guy, the Prime Minister in Australia? He's
Scott Morrison.
He's just...
Who went on a holiday in the middle of the bushfires and then said, I can't get a flight back from Honolulu.
Okay, yeah, but that's an example of the kind of person you would think would never change. And just today, he has agreed, under a lot of pressure, admittedly, but he has agreed for a full inquiry to be opened into the cause and the effects and the devastation and that of the bushfires.
But haven't these bushfires been burning in isolation for like 18 months?
Yeah, I think that they're always a regular annual thing. It's just because this time they started so much earlier and everything's so much drier and the temperatures are so much hotter.
Yeah.
That it's just a perfect storm. And that's going to happen more and more often. Like the hurricanes are getting more and more intense, and
the lightning, which will be more common because storms are more common, and the extremely dry ground makes for fuel for bushfires, basically.
Yeah, I think there was something about there's always is it something to do with the resources, because they often like clear a path, don't they, so that the fire can't get across.
Yeah,
they'll burn, what do they call it?
Fire breaks.
Fire breaks, yeah. I'm sure we get that up here. I see them on the mountains.
Yeah,
the
you
heather
do,
and
yeah.
But even with those, like, there would still be massive fires. It might be slightly prevented, and they might not like converge so much, but there'd still be loads of fires.
I mean, right, everyone's jumped on his back for this coal exports, but who's using the coal? China,
America.
I would imagine India burn a lot of coal.
Yeah,
all these big, the richest economies are all still burning coal. We still burn coal.
Yeah, but it's sort of that's why we need to change.
Well, yeah, but why we're going into Brexit, where we're going to go into a depression when Brexit hits eventually.
Well, yeah, I saw a thing the other day that says already, and this is before we've actually done Brexit, we've spent more on it than our weekly contribution to the EU for 47 years.
Yeah.
So,
which is longer than we've been in the EU. Or
why haven't
the
we got
EA even
mass employment fitting solar panels on every single roof in the country?
Where's the money going to come from?
Who cares? We borrow heavily every year anyway, as a country. Trillions.
So what are we spending that money on that we're borrowing?
I don't know. How can we? How can the West live where firms and everything are making billions and billions of profit, but the country has to borrow to survive? Because every Western country has to borrow. Every Western country is in debt to the World Bank.
Maybe that's a symptom of what you were saying last episode about the government trying to shift responsibility for everything onto the corporations. It's like, well, the only way you can do that is by shifting all the money into the corporations.
It's basically because people don't want to vote for tax, so anyone that would have plans to raise it to fund stuff that we need, or just fund what we're already doing, isn't going to get voted in.
Look what's happening now with Apple in Ireland. 17 billion in tax they owe. And the EU has said you have to pay that tax back. Ireland don't want the tax.
Yeah.
Apple don't want to pay it, and Ireland don't want to accept it because they've done a deal with Apple to work. I think Tim Cook is being in Ireland this week to be honoured for 40 years of Apple in Ireland.
It's just like, the more you hear about it, the more you think, well, what can we actually do? I mean, all these ideas about making improvements to the system and saving the planet and stuff, obviously all that stuff needs to be done, but how do you actually do it without kind of imposing regulations on everything?
Amazon don't pay tax, Starbucks don't pay tax, you can go on and on and on. But if you made them pay tax, then prices would go up. Then they'd shut the factories and move them to places where they don't have to pay tax. At least while they're in here working and got the factories and the shops and everything else, they're employing people who are paying tax.
So the problem is that there are borders.
Yeah, but then they don't actually pay those people enough and overwork them. So it's inefficient.
Well, but then people could be on the dole and not be paying any tax.
If we actually tax these big corporations, they make enough profit off of their automated workers so that they could pay that tax and actually pay their workers properly. We could put in laws that make them do that.
And that's a nice segue into exploitation.
It is. And I've nearly finished my first beer.
Wow, that's a big beer.
I told you I should have got the other ones in first. I'm gonna have to leave you. I'm going to get. I can't start the whiskey, can I?
Get on the whiskey, lad.
He's got school in the morning, and I have to get him up. Meow.
Meow. We did a chorus of meow on the last episode, I remember.
We did.
Come on.
Reminiscing.
No.
Meow.
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 Do it. Meow.
No.
Meow.
Fantastic podcast.
We should just change the name to Meow.
How do you even spell that?
Meow. Alexa, spell meow.
Oh, do you know what happened? Do you know that last episode?
MOUTH. MOUTH.
That's mouth. That last episode when we would...
The mouth, also known as the oral cavity, buccal cavity, or in Latin cava moris, is the opening through which many animals take in food and issue vocal sounds. It is also the cavity line at the upper end of the alimentary
Fucking hell.
bounded on the outside.
Like bring your wife to work.
Just say Alexa, shut up.
Alexa, good night.
Oh, does that shut her up for the...
Currently, in Liverpool, it's 5 degrees.
Oh, Jesus. Alexa, stop.
See that whole bit of the conversation we had in the last podcast where we were talking about Alexa and Siri and Google and all that lot, and I said, "Okay, Google," and it woke my phone up.
Yeah.
It didn't do it. It woke my phone up on the podcast and confused the fuck out of me. Well, I was listening to it in the car, and when it happened on the podcast, when it came through the speakers in the car, it woke my phone up in the car while I was listening to the podcast.
Spooky.
and I was like,
You should
"This is
say
getting silly."
something like, "Hey Siri, text my mom. I'm leaving you."
What's Siri?
I'm
Is that
gay.
Apple?
Yeah.
Uh.
Do you want me to send that? Yes.
Text
Tens of millions of people will now be getting that when they listen back to this.
Oh.
Only if they listen out for it out loud.
Go on, you do it. You say something.
Okay, Google. Search horsecock.
Oh no! Don't do that. Look, my phone's here. Just don't say that. I need to go. I'll take my phone with me to the fridge for beer.
Horsecock.
They're well hung, apparently.
Okay, Google.
That
Search
reminds
horse fanny.
This is going in the wrong direction.
Horse minge. Minge.
Hey Siri, search whale dick.
He's told her to go. Oh no, it was Alexa, wasn't it?
Go and get some more beer.
Yeah.
Mr. Cyborg Man.
Apparently whales' dicks are 3 meters long.
That's a lot of dick.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't handle it.
Like the
They've got no
size of a 1-story building. Kind of.
Oh, imagine that slapping you around the chops.
I think you'd be dead.
So, exploitation, talking about whales.
Well, we're going to wait for the Orbiter to get back because otherwise he'll come in and be like, what's happening? And you'll be talking to me and he won't be able to hear it.
We'll talk about his girly haircut.
Well, it's less girly now.
It's less girly now, yeah. Oh, there he is.
Oh, you getting me one as well?
No.
Getting me one as well.
No, you're on the non-alcoholic stuff.
I drank, watching Liverpool beat Tottenham last night, I drank 10 bottles of non-alcoholic lager.
Yeah, but that does nothing. It just tastes like liquidated Marmite.
What are you talking about? Liquidized.
Whatever.
Oh, let's get comfy.
So, what were we talking about? Exploitation.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a very hard topic to... have you got a definition of exploitation to stimulate us?
Well, the only thing that sprung into my mind, which I thought might be worth asking you about with your Disney knowledge, is about the employees sleeping in cars and stuff like that.
Well, this is a multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar company, isn't it? Disney.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is conquering all, buying all in its wake, getting bigger and bigger. And yet the people on the ground floor, quite right is what you say, are on $10, $12 an hour if they're lucky. And in Disneyland, some of them were, I don't know if they still are now, and I don't know what the minimum wage is for Disney now. It might be up to $15 an hour. I don't know.
Mm.
But people were sleeping in the cars. Yeah, you're right.
And it's often... What? Sorry.
Well, Disney has got a very unique standing with its employees or cast members, hasn't it? So they're getting ad off, but they're glad they're getting ad off.
Yeah.
Because they're happy to work for Disney. And let's be honest, Disney in the Florida area employs tens of thousands of people. And they might need 2 or 3 jobs to survive. I don't know. But they still employ all them people, and they still get a lot of perks and a lot of benefits.
I was going to say, could a lot of the people that work there, could they actually afford to go there if they didn't get the perks?
Oh, probably not. Undoubtedly not. I mean, and they also, the annual passes that they get are heavily subsidised and are paid for monthly and all that type of stuff.
Mm.
You know, we'd all give our left leg to work for Disney, I suspect.
I could handle a muso job there.
Mm.
Which
really
brings
know
me
what I
on
would
to
do.
the number of. It's a fairly widespread thing that that musicians are offered the opportunity for exposure by playing in certain places, like restaurants or
Yeah.
Sometimes pubs or whatever. They'll be like,
But they won't actually pay
"This is
you.
a great opportunity for exposure." It's like you would never say to a plumber, come and fix the toilets here, and show examples of your work. It's a great advertising opportunity.
My farts are absolutely stinking.
I can't smell them here.
That's wonderful.
Do you want me to bottle them and post them up to you?
Not really.
You sure?
Yeah.
The rank. I'm going to die tonight. He's going to stab me to death. I swear to God.
See if that did actually happen, though.
Yeah.
What?
She'd get off with it, I think.
Prostitution.
It's a very sensitive subject because you're bound to offend somebody.
What? Prostitution?
Well,
Or
exploitation.
Do you think prostitution is exploitation of, or do you think, excuse me, like female strippers and female prostitutes, do you think that's exploitation of women? Or, and could there also be an element of exploitation of men in that?
Again, it's so hard to, because obviously prostitution is exploitation, but it's also the oldest industry in the world.
Well, here's the thing. Even if it is exploitation, it's going to be less severe if it's legal.
That's true.
It's a lot like drugs. Because the sex workers can't go to the police if they're being abused, either by people paying or by who's hiring them. Because if they go to the police for that, then they're basically confessing to a crime.
By legalizing it, you would open up the options for regulation, which would make it a safer thing to do. What are you doing?
I'm trying to get back onto a normal screen. I've got about 6 screens on the go here.
How did you manage that? Are we still sharing the screen?
Yeah.
Stop sharing. Okay.
Oh, that's better. Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, sex workers are getting exploited as we speak. And in some quite horrific conditions that we could only imagine. But then there's other sex workers who are paying their way through university and are getting degrees and stuff.
Well, that's another thing. The situation in which someone has to turn to that line of work, often I suspect when they would rather not.
Do you not think? I mean, it is a contentious subject, but the language you used there, having to turn to that line of work, I think betrays the attitude of society in general that it is a demeaning profession.
Well, a lot of people would rather not. There are some people that are fine with it and wouldn't have an issue with it, but it's sort of...
I probably would agree that
might change if that attitude towards it would.
I would probably agree that the majority of sex workers, I don't know, but I would guess that the majority of sex workers aren't doing it purely through choice. Excuse me.
As 3 white men sitting here, basically, it's very hard for us to make an informed.
My wife.
Be careful what you say.
Used to be
suggested that I earned some money by advertising my wares online, as it were.
Selling your arse.
Yeah. Well, no,
that was a joke.
No, I thought that, but then I
think you just don't understand her sarcasm.
Yeah, no, you weren't here when her and Nan were talking about it openly.
So your
It's
wife and
definitely
your
a
mum
joke.
were talking about selling you as a sex toy.
Yeah, basically.
That
Totally
was
normal.
some Christmas dinner, that.
But see, in different kind of versions of a society, that is obviously a taboo profession in our society. And even I suppose in places where it's more accepted and legalized, such
Well,
as
it's not just because it's like embarrassment from that line of work, also having to deal with a lot of creepy people.
Yeah, but that's the regulation
don't-
thing, isn't it?
But then I think that's just reality as a modern woman.
Don't taxi drivers deal with a lot of creepy people?
Yeah, we did. I spent 10 years taxi driving.
Some creepy
but you're not
people getting
fucking
them
them.
taxis. How do you know?
Well, I hope you weren't, because you probably would have contracted
I don't know,
something.
but I do remember picking up a group of women
Careful.
from a pub on a Saturday night who were absolutely pissed, and on the way feeling really uncomfortable because they were joking quite aggressively about raping me, like a group of 4 women in the car, and it's like, to say that as a bloke, as a taxi driver, as a bloke, is not. I don't think is taken nearly as seriously as if you were a woman taxi driver with 4 blokes in there threatening to rape her.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That I'm not sure what that's got to do with exploitation, but
It's just a point to be made
Yeah,
along the lines of sex, really.
yeah, it's about safety in the workplace, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um,
By the way, you were asking about the definition of exploitation.
Oh, yes.
Just minimise you a sec.
Oh, man.
So there's 2 definitions of it here. One as in taking advantage, and one as in just utilisation. So the first one, which we're probably more looking at, is the action or fact of treating someone unfairly in order to benefit from their work.
you'd have to define unfairly then, though, wouldn't you?
The example given is the exploitation of migrant workers.
And then
What?
surely exploitation is a point of view.
Well, yeah.
Because obviously there's some quite clear exploitation. But I might feel, I'm a
Sorry.
train driver.
Mm.
I might feel exploited. I might, yeah, everyone.
Everything is a degree of exploitation, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're exploiting you now.
And I'm exploiting you.
I guess.
So, but that's a fair exchange then. If it's like
So then it's
mutual exploitation.
Yeah, so that's not. See, this is the thing.
But when
not
it's
exploitation. But
someone in a position of power getting far more from one side of the equation than
Yeah.
that person is getting from them, then that is them taking advantage of that person.
I mean, look at the empire, the wealth of the empire. Where do you begin with the empire for who we exploited?
Mm.
The slave trade, the tobacco trade built on the back of slaves,
Tea.
cotton. This was all slaves built on the back of slaves.
There's been a fair amount of controversy in the news about different brands and sort of economy clothes shops and stuff like that exploiting sweatshops in, is it China?
Well, that's the thing. Most of our phones were made by modern day slave labour. And that's just something that we don't tend to think about that often.
Most of our phones.
Yeah.
Well, Ricky Gervais highlighted it at the Globes last week, didn't he? Where he congratulated Tim Cook and Apple on the wonderful This Morning show, and then commented on the sweatshops that all his phones are made in China.
Yeah, but he did it in the most whiny and annoying possible way. And then was like, oh, don't talk about what you're doing to help, because that makes you a hypocrite, even though he's also a part of that group.
But he was putting it on the back of humour and taking the piss out of people.
Yeah, but I just didn't find it that funny.
So, I mean, we're all getting exploited to a degree.
Yeah, well, that's sort of, why we must eat the rich eventually.
Eat the
Viva la
rich?
revolution.
Brilliant.
Oh.
Eat the
Bring
rich.
out the guillotine.
Yeah, but how does veganism fit into that?
Well, I think you'll find that most cows haven't exploited you. However, the bankers have. Therefore, it's morally a-okay to
I had a dream about that.
cows exploiting you.
Yeah.
I don't want to know, frankly.
I did you hear about the the drenched
Did I?
cow incident?
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. He drove past a cow and it got a bit wet and
No,
looked
it
a
was-
bit startled. And then he was
No.
like, ha ha ha. And
Well,
that's the end of that
fucking
story.
ruined my story. You exploited my past.
Because it's boring.
It was funny at the time. Anyway, the second the definition, the action of making use of and benefiting from resources. So we are exploiting the planet.
Yeah, constantly.
What is the so? Do you think the same thing is obviously the natural order of things would be that if we carry on exploiting the planet, we're gonna reap the rewards of that in predictable ways. Do you think the same thing can happen with exploitation of labour? That
Well, that's the thing. Evidence shows, but because people obviously are a different market to resources, that you actually get a lot more out of people from a 4-day working week, both short term and long term, than you would in a 5-day working week.
Well, you probably get less sickness.
Yeah, that's true. They're a lot less stressed as well. That's the main reason, because they can actually be motivated to do work a lot more.
do you think?
A significant part of our economy has been lost because of cat videos.
I mean, it's easy to see how an individual or a corporation can exploit another person or people. But do you think that a system which is not under any single person's control can... Because what I was thinking was, if you put people in a position where, like, drugs and alcohol are going to help them to get through their miserable existence, you're actually exploiting them in two directions there, because you're kind of exploiting them in terms of their ability to create profit for you, but in making their life miserable by that process, you're also exploiting their need for some kind of relief from that existence. Do you know what I mean? It's like make somebody
Right.
miserable and then sell them the antidote.
Yeah.
Well, it's I mean, cigarettes.
Yeah.
Me and my wife walked into Liverpool last week. Walked into Liverpool last week, 3.5 mile walk, and we walked through some very poor parts of Liverpool, and every person we encountered had a cigarette hanging out of the gob.
Yeah, they're fucking... I used to smoke, and it was... Have you ever smoked?
One crazy summer, a couple of bifters and a bit of pot and that, but...
Yeah. I spent a good... well over a decade smoking regularly. And when I was at college, I was on like 30 a day. But you just think, Jesus, nowadays that would be like getting on for 150 quid a week.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, so how did he do it?
Well, I mean, because back then it was like, you know, a couple of quid a packet. So at most. But I don't know how they do
it was when in the 80s when I used to go with my nan.
Ooh.
Go and get me some Lucy's. It was 10p a Lucy.
What's a Lucy? Like a single?
A single ciggy.
Yeah. Well, they used to sell 10s. When I first started, it was like 81p for 10p an each.
Wow. And now it's a tenner, I think, for 20 bifters in it.
Yeah.
Give or take a
and you
shit.
can't buy them in less than 20s.
Some of them will be tax, but a lot of that will be inflation as well.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. The tax for cigarettes, what did he do with it? does 100% of that tax go into the NHS
It should
fund people
Well-
who have got smoking-related disease?
I don't think they necessarily go, oh, this percentage of this tax will go to this thing. I just think they just take the sum of it all and distribute it among their budget, but I don't know
Like
how most of this works.
road tax. All our roads should be squeaky clean, with no potholes. But exploitation is like guilt. Is guilt a form of exploitation?
That's a deep subject.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the priest in church
See,
will
I
If
was
it's to
going to
get
talk about this
something out of
because
someone.
obviously you're religious, we're not. I was, but I was Protestant. So, oh, fucking hell, he's going to knife me now. What are the general differences between Protestantism and Catholicism in terms of how guilt is?
I think guilt
dealt
is
with.
administered in all religions in equal quantities, to be honest.
But it's how it's kind of absolved, isn't it? That is different.
And it's just how the mass is conducted.
Guilt in Buddhism, for example, would likely be more likely to be resolved by some sort of drive to enlighten oneself and be better, which you could argue does benefit you more than the actual religion.
I mean, one of the main differences I think between Catholicism and Protestantism is obviously you have confession, don't you?
Yeah, but I don't know a Catholic who's been to confession.
Really? I mean, I know very little about Catholicism, like practical Catholicism.
I've done one confession.
Right. So does that make you a bad Catholic? Are you supposed to do it regularly?
Don't know. Not that I know of. I don't think there's a set like, oh, it's Wednesday, it's confession day.
Right.
What sort of how big does it have to be worthy of a confession?
It's what you want it to be, isn't it? You can confess about anything. So it could be.
Whereas in Protestantism, it's just the act of believing that.
Could you just say, "Oh, I picked my nose in public and I feel a bit shit about it"?
Well, exactly, yeah. It can, or I've just slit the throat of some fella and murdered them. It could be.
I never understood how that works in terms of legally. Obviously, the law would require a priest. Well, it wouldn't. Does it require a priest to actually inform?
I think it probably does. Again, I don't think people go to confession that much for it to be an issue.
Yeah.
You know, what are the odds? So out of the minimal confessions that take place nationally in Great Britain, out of how many of them confessions are actually there's a serial killer sitting there confessing to killing people?
Here we go. That's Uncora. That's not going to be.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, because I know there's things like with psychologists and psychotherapists. If you can say pretty much anything, but if anything that you say in like a counselling or psychotherapy session would potentially put someone else at risk, they legally have to divulge it.
I think if you go into your counselling session and you're a serial killer and you're telling them, you know, I think they've got a moral obligation to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, new laws require priests to break the seal of confession. That's from 2018.
New laws. All right. Okay. See,
this is around about child sex abuse, and
this goes right to the heart of what we were talking about with optimism and pessimism, in that things have changed and are changing at such a rate that, I mean, I couldn't believe earlier on I was hearing about the armed forces, some guy talking about the LGBTQ plus whatever organization to do with the armed forces, and that is it 20 years since they actually made it legal for homosexuals to be in the armed forces. Before that it was actually illegal.
Yeah,
for
because
them
they
to
had
serve,
a thing about
and they apologised for that. But
a guy
it's
that
like,
was in
that's
the
an example.
Falklands War. I saw it a while back.
That's literally
That
just
had
before
been
9/11.
Stripped of his medal because he was found out to be gay.
Yeah. But this is all fairly recent stuff. So while it's horrifying to look back at programs like It Was Alright in the 70s and, look at how unbelievably unfair the world was so recently, at the same time, it's a good sign that we're moving in a reasonably fast-paced
Yeah, but you
way.
say that, and the LGBT movement is gathering pace, and we're supposed to be more tolerant of all the ethnic minorities that we all mingle with and we all integrate with now and everything like that. But yet we stand on the cusp of right-wing fascism spreading and rearing its head across the entire
Is that
planet.
a reaction to that then?
Do you know what I mean? So you say we're moving into this fairer, more...
I did see...
Well, it's more people are trying to push for that, and some people want things to stay the way they are because they're cock mumbles.
But it's not staying the way it was. They're pushing further against what it was.
It's that sort of thing of, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
I see the BBC lost a court battle recently. I can't remember which programs it was. It was Watchdog and something else. But anyway, basically...
Panorama.
Nah, I think it was some
Jonathan
kind of...
Craven's News Round.
It was 2 similar format programs.
Blue Peter.
Watchdog. No, for fuck's sake. And one of them's run by Jeremy Vine, is it? Presented by Jeremy Vine. And the other one is presented by a woman. And I can't remember her name. I'm sorry. A woman.
Presenting on television.
I know, who'd have thought it, eh? But it was taken to court and they lost the thing because Jeremy Vine was getting like I can't remember, about 5 times as much as she was.
$1 billion.
Yeah, about that.
And she wasn't.
So that's like modern day exploitation to a certain extent.
This is the thing.
The equality of pay thing.
Whatever happened to the Glasgow council workers who were on strike? I think it was last year, about inadequacies in pay.
I don't know.
So some of them were care workers. Some of them were...
Oh, fucking hell. Sorry. Carry on.
Has he just farted?
No, you just reminded me of something that my wife just reshared on Facebook. We have finally got our PIP tribunal appeal date through, 28th of January. But anyway, in the letter, it says that you can claim back expenses for travel and childcare on the day of the interview, but if you're under 25, you can't claim as much. So apparently, if you're a parent under 25, your childcare doesn't cost as much as if you're over 25, according to the government.
Is that some sort of tax relief, maybe? Or do they get vouchers for childcare or something?
I have no idea.
But yeah, this Glasgow, the Glasgow council workers. So all this fair pay for women and all this, and the men TV presenters are getting paid more than the women presenters.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that hasn't taken place, but surely it's got to do with commercial talent as well.
Well, I'm not sure I would use the word talent, but certainly commercial value in a skewed world. Like
Lionel Messi is worth more and will get paid more than...
You don't know any women footballer names, do you?
No shit footballers, no.
You're backing into a corner.
Danny Drinkwater.
Who?
From Aston Villa, exactly. Who? A midfielder from Aston Villa, who's probably handsomely paid.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get the same as Messi or Ronaldo.
He's not doing the same job, though, is he?
He is. He's a footballer.
Yeah, but it's sort of... There are women of a similar enough stature to the male people that are getting paid more than them, and there's some of less commercial value that are still getting paid more than women of more commercial value.
Really difficult argument, isn't it? Because
the thing with Glasgow was the cleaners, female, because cleaners generally are female. I don't know why. We're getting paid less than the male bin men. But surely that is that's not. How do you quantify it? Is what I mean.
It's not the same job, is it?
It's not the same job. It's not the same hours, and it's not the same environment.
But like you say, it's a really difficult thing to cast judgment on, because unless you're actually doing exactly the same job, how do you and have been in that job for exactly the same amount of time?
But there are a lot of cases where people are doing exactly the same job, and
definitely, yeah.
There's not this sort of trying to figure out how much someone is worth, which ultimately feels a bit fucked up.
In a lot of salaried work, when you go in for your interview, you negotiate your salary and you negotiate your own bonuses.
I actually got
that
told
tends to be where most of the inequality is, and that's because, well, either because of employer bias.
When I was working at the cinema chain, which I shall not name, View, I got told off by my manager for sharing what my hourly rate was with a fellow colleague employee who was doing the same job as me, who was a girl. I wasn't allowed to tell her what my hourly rate was.
They do have a thing of you're not supposed to share your wage with other people.
Yeah, but wages now, you can go online and find out all manner of wages.
Yeah.
Council workers,
that to
teachers,
me, that just smells like corruption.
Train drivers.
But they tried to do that with like social pressure of, oh, well, if you tell them and you earn more, then they're going to hate you because you earn more than them. But it's sort of like, if they're a reasonable person, they'll probably know who to blame.
Anyway, exploitation. Shall we plan some exploitation?
What?
Shall we plan some exploitation?
No. What are you talking about?
We're talking about exploitation. Let's take it from a different viewpoint. Let's plan some.
Go on then.
What are you talking? Get to the point.
Well, how can we exploit someone?
I don't want to. What? Did you actually have an idea when you suggested this, or are you just being weird?
No, I'm just trying to keep the conversation going.
But you don't need to. We're having a perfectly fine conversation.
Go on then, Mr. Conversation Man. Person.
Right.
Left.
Up.
Down.
Right.
Out.
Shake it all about.
Do the okey dokey.
And you turn around, and that's what it's all about.
What?
Am I worse drunk or sober?
Yes.
I don't honestly notice a difference.
Were you trying to say something important and profound?
Not particularly. I was just going to continue my point about equal pay.
Yeah.
What I will say is, on the railway where I come from, we are all paid the same.
Mm.
Is it based on how long you've been working there as well?
In the very short term. So when you're a brand new train driver, you're not on the same wages as a full-time qualified. But after 3 years or 4 years, you will be on that same money.
Yeah.
Whether you're a man or a woman.
Mm. But which are you?
That's quite a different...
I am a man.
You sure?
Hold on. Oh, yes, I'm very sure. Let me just check again. Oh, yeah, still very sure.
Lovely.
Carry on.
It is mainly those negotiated pay jobs that are where the inequality lies. Like, you'll find a lot more inequality in those areas.
Is it just that the people who are on more money are better negotiators?
Well, it tends to be that men are more likely to oversell themselves because they're quite confident, and quite often women don't expect to be given much, so they try to just sort of settle for as much as they could really expect.
I was just thinking about, I was saying about how it's very difficult when you're talking about, certainly in things like show business and football and stuff like that, and you're talking about talent-based jobs. I suppose every job involves talent to some extent, and you can't really. I mean, if you're going to start talking about, like, in an orchestra, say, speaking about musicians, are you going to get people arguing about whether or not they're a better player than the person sat next to them, so they should get paid more?
Well, you do have like first violin, second violins that tend to be
obviously
in
section
order of
leaders,
ability. Yeah,
but
you would expect them to get paid more. But
you wouldn't want the person on the triangle to get paid the same amount as the person
as
on the
the
big
person
bass
on
drum.
the triangle, I am offended.
There was a serious discussion though in the industry about whether or not string players should get paid more than brass players, because essentially they play more notes.
Yeah, but the brass players have to actually count. The string players can just sort of continue playing.
Surely it's a lot more hard work to play brass.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot of blowing in that, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
But then, I imagine you have to have quite...
Sorry, I'm tickling your mouth with my cursor.
Do you mind?
I don't,
Stop.
actually.
Meow.
Derail my train of thought. I imagine you'd have to have quite the stamina in your arms to play strings.
Yeah, but if you're an accomplished string player, then you'll have the stamina in your arms, so what's the problem?
But it's like if you're an accomplished brass player, you'll have the stamina in your lungs.
Ah, touche.
Although there is a physical limit to how much oxygen you can store in your
What I'm
lungs
trying
at
to say
one
is the
time.
pay equality thing isn't purely down to you can't use the argument that a woman or a man are more or less talented if they're doing the same job. Really.
When you're buying an iPhone for upwards of £1,100 now for the top iPhone, and that person in the factory in China is probably earning £10 a week. I don't know what the wages are. I haven't done any homework. But that has got to be exploitation. But is it? Because in the place where they live, is £10 a week not a good living wage?
The other thing as well, who is doing the exploiting in that situation?
It's got to be, well, Apple as a core, Apple core.
No.
They're the ones sitting on enough money to buy a country.
Yeah.
So how do you affect change in that situation as a consumer, as an individual?
They won't want their profit margins to suffer, but their profit margins would have to suffer. And the people on the ground would have to get paid more money. And they would have to freeze the prices of the products. Because Apple products never come down in price.
But I suppose what I'm trying to say is I know you're an Apple fan.
Oh, I love my Apple products.
So, I mean, I suppose there's that kind of...
I'm getting exploited by buying it, because what I'm buying...
Not only that, but they're kind of making you exploit the workers as well by proxy.
So if I had values, I wouldn't buy Apple products.
But there is that kind of... I mean, with all these sweatshop kind of situations, I know Primark have been in bother with that before as well. They don't... the individual who's actually buying the stuff, the consumer, knows damn well that the difference they can make, and it's a similar thing with the exploitation of the planet. Every individual knows that what difference they can make is sod all, really, in the grand scheme of things, and they kind of rely on that, the kind of lack of power of the individual to kind of stop anyone from banding together and making change. Because I mean, if everybody stopped buying Apple products because of that, then they would obviously suffer. But no individual is going to stop doing that.
But what do you go and buy instead? Where is the ethical phone? Do you know? It doesn't
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a phone out there where people are paid a fair price for making it,
Just
and
got
it's sold at a fair price?
statistic up. It would cost $200 billion a year over 5 years to end the global water crisis. Just dropping that in there, which is within the profit margins of quite a few corporations.
Well, there are examples of sort of mass movements, if you like, that have made a difference. You know, a lot of people deliberately pay more to buy fair trade bananas or fair trade coffee.
Good point, well made. How do you get fair trade accredited?
But the point stands that there are people that can definitely do a lot more than they are doing that still refuse to.
Why is my fan?
The thing
just
is, as a consumer, though, you always want the best price. So why should you do anything? As the fella who's getting exploited himself on minimum wage, trying to provide for his family, why should you bother?
I suppose that's getting down to that is capitalism, isn't it?
Likely, the farmers, especially of a lot of our more exotic goods, are under a lot worse exploitation than not being paid enough.
We should all stop going to supermarkets.
Likely in dangerous working conditions.
You should go to your local butcher for your meat, if indeed you still eat meat. You should go to your local fruit and veg man. Use only paper bags, like we used to do 20 years ago.
I'll tell you what's really good, actually. We've started going to Aldi. They do like these reusable bag things. They're like that you can put them in the wash. Basically, they're like a sort of a netting bag with a drawstring at the top. They're reusable, and you just like put your mushrooms and your bananas and what have you in them, and then when you've took them home, they're really lightweight. You can just shove them in the wash. They're really good.
Have you got a local fruit and veg man?
There is a stall outside the leisure centre at the bottom of the road quite often from a local farm.
Do they still do that Friday market thing? Or is that still?
I don't think so, no.
There used to be a market, I think, at the church or the community. I think it might have been the community centre.
I mean, what I love about Scotland when you're driving around is the little honesty boxes that people have outside the houses selling the jams.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, well, that was what I say. Down at the leisure centre, there's often like just a little sort of portable table thing with like a crate that's got like cabbages and cauliflower and carrots and stuff like that just in the tray. And I think you take what you want and take the money inside to the leisure centre, and they pass it on to the farm, sort of thing. It's like you could literally just walk up and take what you like, you know.
That's where you should get your fruit and veg from then. Support your local businesses. I go to my fruit and veg man, but I still eat avocados because he sells them.
Right.
You know, maybe we need to be starting to eat locally sourced meat and locally sourced fruit and veg, which is seasonal. Isn't it?
Yeah.
That does a lot to help. But again, still, any personal change, although the biggest one that you can make is going vegan, is still going to be a lot less impactful than what the people actually making the stuff can do, or the big corporation.
Isn't just a lot of hard work though?
It does.
It's getting easier, but I'm not 100% vegan. I just eat vegan at home, so that when I have meat, it's a treat now. If it's out, you know, which is far more of a dietary kind of improvement, really, than anything else.
If you have meat, it's a treat.
Do you want some meat?
Yes. Give me a treat, please. I'll have one of your big, long, spicy sausages.
What are the health benefits for you going vegan?
Me,
personally, because you do get a lot of protein and stuff.
Yeah, but you can get all of that from like nuts and soya and stuff like that. Yes, I do. Yeah,
less fat in them as well.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that a lot of vegetarians do. They cut out the meat, but they don't replace what they're losing.
Yeah, Yeah, no, we do a lot of pulses, like, and there's a lot of stuff now as well that's got extra added protein in it.
But like when
But-
my sister originally went vegetarian, from what I understand, she basically
She
just ate biscuits for at least a month.
But no, for me, I think the biggest thing is probably my metabolism. In that, you know, like tonight we had burgers, and I had a vegan chicken burger and a vegan beef burger. Vegan, is it? Yes, vegan beef burger. Vegan.
Have you got
meat
a
burger.
co-op near you?
Yeah.
Do you sell the Incredible burgers in there?
I don't know. I haven't really.
Very nice.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like it digests a lot quicker, and you know that you're just eating plant stuff, so it's not going to sit, and you're not getting fat and stuff like that. So, but I'll still have a steak if I go out, like at Christmas and stuff.
Well, I mean, we're basically vegetarian all week, Monday to Friday. I won't say I'm vegan because I'm not, because I can't be asked.
No,
Like it's mainly, from what I understand, you'll eat vegan when it's the option, but if you're at a restaurant, you'll probably eat meat.
Yeah, depending on what the menu's like.
I had for my birthday, I took the family out for a meal. I had a vegan roast dinner.
We had one of them yesterday,
and it was basically a roast dinner with a bit of a beetroot pie.
All right, okay,
if you will.
Yeah.
Which was strange.
Yeah.
But so, what was your vegan roast dinner consisting of?
I can't remember. It was some kind of roast beef substitute thing. It was, I don't know. I mean, I will say, to me, it wasn't quite as nice as a roast beef dinner. But at the same time,
it's like
that doesn't matter, because I know
lager.
I'm not going to be 100% vegan, so I know that I've always got the choice. You know, for me, that's a better way, because 9 times out of 10, I will choose the vegan or healthier option.
And the thing is,
because I know I've got a
vegan
choice.
Beer now. So if they're selling vegan beer, then the stuff you're drinking.
What the hell is
vegan.
non-vegan beer?
I don't know if it's got a lamb chop in it.
The cows have shit on the wheat that's been.
The ingredients.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't actually have them, but it just says contains malted barley.
Malted barley.
We got off the fucking hell.
It can't just be that.
Exploitation.
Are you gonna have some cheerful topics in the future?
Yeah, we should have, shouldn't we?
Yeah,
we should have. Let's talk about beer.
Are dark and down and sad.
Well, that's because blame the world. Blame.
No, that's because you're a teenager and all teenagers are emo.
He does. He does select the subject.
Happiness and joy and just stuff like that.
That would get depressing.
I can view both all of human knowledge, which.
There's a
fair amount of human knowledge and a fair amount of suffering through a nightmare rectangle that fits in my pocket.
Do you not think that there's a whole industry built around exploitation of people's misery?
Yeah.
Like that whole kind of the Calm app I've got on my phone that has a monthly subscription to meditate.
Don't you think this mental health now, right? Don't you think all the big corporations who are cashing in on mental health now, so the Premier League, the FA Cup kicked off a minute late, so we can all remember our mental health, and this company supports mental health now, and ITV adverts support mental health now. Don't you think people are getting rich off people's mental health? With the medication that they're selling,
that's just
and the counsellors that are counselling, and
I still think it's a good thing that people are actually paying attention to it, though, because people.
But how many people genuinely are having mental health issues, or they're just feeling a little bit? Because is it a mental health issue if you're just a bit down that day?
But then if you
there is a difference.
If you relate that to like a physical health problem. If, for instance, you are feeling like if you're suffering from, if you're overweight slightly overweight. You can
Yeah.
either just think, am I slightly overweight or am I obese? And you can just carry on the way you're going. Eventually you will get obese. Or you can actually address the situation before it gets to that point. And it's a lot easier to deal with at that point. So if you're a bit down, is it not better to be thinking about why you're down at that point than waiting until you're on manic depressive?
I question the integrity of the companies.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That are all shouting mental health when the same companies will sack people for having mental health issues.
Yeah.
And will then compound their mental health issues because they've now lost a job.
Yeah, yeah.
And that happens.
But I think the estimates are that about a third of people will have or have had depression at some point in their life. Or have it.
I'm on antidepressants now. But
yeah.
And have been loads of times in my adult life.
But so maybe you need to stay on them.
Yeah, well, that's what the doctors kind of saying this time. It's been a couple of years, I think, this time. But they're saying because it's like a third or fourth time in my adult life that I've been on them, that it maybe is a sign of more of a long-term kind of something.
Because people think, oh, I've got better now.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you've got better now because you're on the medication.
Yeah.
And coming off the medication will make you relapse and go back into your dark places more.
I'm paraphrasing from actually Rick and Morty.
Why not?
Mental health isn't an adventure, it's just maintenance.
Yeah, I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of like masturbation.
How is it like masturbation?
You get to the point where it's not an adventure anymore, it's just maintenance.
It's like shitting.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. Just stop.
That's what she said.
Meow. I just want him to do one meow.
Can't do it.
Meow.
We just exploited you.
We've gone full circle. Holidays.
Right, I was talking about something, but then you mentioned...
What was it, though? You can't remember, can you?
It was mental health. Yeah, I went to my GP about my mental health issues. The first time they basically said... you have to be in crisis to get this, and we can't give you medication because you're not an adult yet.
There is a lot of problems with under 18 mental health provision, isn't there?
Yeah,
especially considering that that's a really tumultuous time.
Well, yeah.
Teenage years.
And they basically, they said that you have to be in crisis and they got a massive waiting list. So unless I really, really needed it.
I suppose the problem is that the natural state of a teenager is completely fucked up in the head because everything's changing and
the modern teenager now.
I've met a few that seem to be just quite chill about it all, but
everything's changing.
Yeah.
So the appropriate response to that would be anxiety.
Yeah.
These kids now, right? 16. What? When did I get my first phone? 99. So how long ago was that? 21 years ago. So these kids now have always had a mobile device in their hand from the earliest age. And these tablets and iPhones, I mean, people bat it back at me when I say, oh my God, because people are walking out in front of buses because they're looking at their phone.
Yeah.
And this is all part of the problem, especially the social media side of things for your mental health. Because Facebook is such a fake, horrible, vile environment because everybody on Facebook is having a better life than you. And if you're a 16-year-old and you've got no life experience...
but they're not. That's the problem. What you see of other people's lives is what they choose to project.
Exactly. But if you're
camera's gone.
too naive or immature or whatever to realise that, then you're going to be on a Debbie Downer constantly, because Billy, who you went to school with, has now got a yacht, and there's Johnny, who's a managing director, and there's Sammy, whose roast dinner is better than your roast dinner, and there's Julie, who's got beautiful kids, but you're just a nerd living at home wanking off.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like my situation, I've got friends on Facebook that I might not have seen for years, and my profile says that I run a limited company. Now, to anyone outside of my immediate circle who doesn't know me, they might think that I'm like ultra successful from that. But it's bollocks. It's not. That's not.
In reality, you're a sad, lonely wanker, just like Craig.
Burn.
Hang on, I'll just get my matches.
But define success.
Yeah, that's a point.
Being happy.
And that should be a nice topic. Happiness.
But there's an excellent book by Darren Brown called Happy. There is a subtitle to it, but I can't remember what it is. Fuck.
Happy little fucker.
What is it? Hang on, I'm going to look it up. Darren Brown Happy.
Oh, is this bottle number 3 or bottle number 2?
No,
Bottle
this is
number
his
2.
bottle number 2. I've nearly finished my bottle number 2. That's why I've got the whiskey ready.
Oh.
Are we watching something after this?
Yeah, you got school in the morning. Happy.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go to sleep.
Why it's happy? Why more or less everything is absolutely fine? And I read it when we were on holiday in Tenerife, and it goes into all like the history of like the way that society today is constantly putting out this ideology that the goal, that the aim of life is to be happy, and that you should be doing everything that you can to attain happiness. Whereas that's not always been the case. For a lot of humanity over the progress of our species, it's been more about survival.
Yeah, definitely.
And being happy is a relatively new kind of need for society, and they are exploiting. They're kind of creating the need and then exploiting that need.
Well, you'd never feel more happy than when you buy a new iOS device.
But
then
it's
when you
short-lived, isn't it?
Yeah, because when you get it home and set it up, it's exactly the same as the last iOS device you had.
I think a lot of the...
They even call it retail therapy.
A lot of the healthcare companies in America also coincidentally have a big stake in the things that causes health problems, like smoking, the tobacco industry. Just worth mentioning.
So in a world that you're looking at, where you can see that not everybody, but where you can see that it's run by people who are exploiting every angle that they possibly can in order to gain money and power, you can really stick two fingers up at them by just being happy with what you've got.
But then, like, I want to make a difference to the world in my lifetime at some point.
Well, you already have.
Yeah, but like, I want to...
You've made a difference to my world.
Well, yeah.
Big time. I mean, you made a difference to every listener's world.
Yeah.
In some way.
Just by being born, you've made a difference.
But it's sort of just...
You're part of the gene pool. You have to take responsibility now.
Yeah. But it's sort of keeping up that attitude of, no, I won't just shut up about this. This is important. And even if it doesn't reach a huge amount of people, just one more person knowing about an issue could help.
Yeah. But I mean, you've got to follow through on that as well, because I mean, I'm the one that joined Extinction Rebellion.
Have you?
You can join the Green Party tomorrow for something silly like £3 a year.
It's all very well sitting and saying that you've got to do everything you can, but you got to do it.
Our Eve's a member of the Labour Party.
Is she? How old is
Yeah.
she?
15.
All right.
Who's she voting for?
I don't think she'll get a vote because she only signed up at the start of the election. I think you've got to be a member for so many months.
That was the thing when they were doing that no confidence vote, like ages back, maybe 2016, 2017 with Corbyn, that a lot of the younger members who had just joined up because of Corbyn couldn't actually vote in that because they were too recently joined.
Yeah, I think our Eve will be in that category. But like I said on the last pod, I resigned from the Labour Party and joined the Green Party because I live in a Labour stronghold. I'm never going to go out canvassing for them or campaigning for them. I just support them.
It's the only party that I look at and say, there is nothing I can say that's wrong about you. You just are good people from the looks of it.
The Green Party, yeah.
So sign
I have
up.
concerns about every other party. Stronger concerns about a lot of them, but
I'll join Patreon tonight, and that money you can put towards your Green membership for a year. £3.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, like, obviously, as part of it is being a teenager, but also you feel like powerless to do much about the misery that you see in the world around you and the future and stuff. But at the end of the day, is that maybe perhaps a symptom that you're not doing as much as you could be?
Well, it's this sort of. I have this thing where I expect way too much of myself. Never manage to do that because it may as well be physically impossible, and then get disappointed with myself and just stop trying, and that just sort of cycles on.
So you need realistic expectations, first of all.
Yeah, this is why I'm going to therapy.
Well, but this is all a symptom, though, I think, of in the schools now, sports day, they don't have a winner and a loser.
Yeah.
So when these kids go from this place where no one comes first and no one comes last.
They still do.
Do they? Not in our schools, they don't.
They do.
You live in England.
Well, that's why, so when you...
Yeah, England's a weird fantasy land from Game of Thrones.
You go into the real world.
We're north of the wall.
It's dog eat dog. These kids crumble because they've never been told no. Little Strawberry or Gooseberry or Discharge has never heard the word no because the latte drinking mother and fathers who live on avocados and veganism don't say no to them. And the schools don't say no to them. I feel like
you're getting a lot of this from stereotypes that aren't entirely true.
See, I hear a lot of this, and I think...
I see a lot of it.
Yeah, but you're not getting the whole story there.
I don't see any of that here.
Maybe Scotland's different. I don't know.
Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe.
I've been at sports days where everybody gets a round of applause. And you're like, but he's just come last.
You should still get a round of applause for trying, though.
Yeah, well, that's the sort of thing.
I know, but the thing, I used to hate sports day at school because we were all made to do it. And it's like, I'm not a sports person. I'm a musician. So why the fuck should I be forced to do something that I'm shit at when I know that I can come first in a music competition?
But it's sort of like
I
shit about the person in first. Yeah, they might have tried hard, but they are naturally gifted.
It's the thing about judging a fish on how well they can ride a bicycle,
The person who comes in last, like by a mile,
that's what she said,
shows a lot more real life skills by the fact that they can persevere, even though it seems like they haven't really got a chance. It's just that sort of not giving up when all seems lost.
See,
and people admire that because it's hope.
The thing is, like with the sports day thing, everybody had to take part, and I really didn't want to. So if somebody gave me a round of applause for that, I'd be like, "Are you taking the piss?" Because it's like I don't want to be congratulated for being forced to do something.
What did they force you to do?
Well, take part. I used to hate doing sports at school.
Did they make you do the 100 meters, the
Yeah.
10-meter hurdles?
Yeah, or not? Yeah, I think we probably did do some hurdles, high jump. I mean,
Because you only normally used to get in the seniors anyway. You'd get one event.
all right.
I always did the 1500 meters and come last, but
Yeah.
no one ever clapped me.
But it's like,
But that spurred me on to greatness, inspired me
Did
to
it,
rise
though?
like a phoenix from the flames.
I understand the ethics behind trying to encourage people to get physically fit and look after their fitness, but to make it a competitive kind of.
Yeah, it's just sort of like it's just meant
like-
to be fun.
See,
You're not.
I feel aggrieved because the people that I used to get bullied by at school, who were the great sports people in our class, were never forced to compete against me in a music performance.
Mm,
There's an idea.
you should have. Oh, but that would just be horrible, though. It's like if you can watch someone running and like that'll be fine. But if you were watching someone play, well, not like listening to someone play music that can't play music, that's a lot worse than watching someone who's bad at running.
Well, in that case, that would show the value of being good at music, then, wouldn't it?
Studious.
I suppose everybody has to take part in exams and stuff. Anyway, I think we should be thinking about.
What's the next topic, guys?
Oh, I don't know. Is it on the calendar?
It might be aliens.
Oh,
What kind of aliens?
Well,
Illegal
I
aliens.
just come up with a sort of vague topic and let the conversation evolve from that.
have you ever seen aliens?
No, well, no, not even seen the film.
Ooh, sorry, I just looked at the one we
That's
recorded
not
on the 9th of
Aliens,
February.
it's Alien. What's that?
Extremism.
Oh, see, where's happiness? Where's joy?
We have got an episode on happiness at some point, but
We've got an episode on a penis.
happiness.
Aliens is the next one, yeah.
The one that does my head in
What?
crab sticks. The size of them crab sticks, the crabs must be huge.
I'm going to piss myself in a minute.
I'm sorry, what?
Crab sticks. The dicks of crabs. You can go
Are
to
you
Cowie,
thinking of crab sticks and have gotten confused?
no crab sticks.
So, yeah, one of our listeners, I think it was one of our listeners, was at Benahi yesterday.
Oh, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel. Hi, Daniel.
Daniel, I've met
Is he part
Daniel.
of the podcast?
Oh, yeah.
network?
Is he a knob?
No, he's fucking fit, mate. He's a gorgeous looking man.
Oh, dear. He's asked
I've
me
got
for a bear. Should I be worried?
Oh, yeah, but his beard's well fitter.
Well, she can come as well.
She is lush. The two of them, they look like they're right out of Littlewood's catalogue. I bet you their dog's
That's
gorgeous.
probably
as well.
because they climb Benahi regularly.
Okay, shall we wrap the podcast up before you spunk yourself?
I'm spunking myself for Daniel. Oh, hey, Daniel. Let's talk American for Daniel.
Oh, is he American?
No, he's Scottish.
Oh.
He
So,
went
this-
on holiday in Findorn on New Year's Eve.
He did.
Okay.
You've
I
never
don't-
been there, have you?
I don't know what that is.
It's just up the coast. We'll have to go
Take
sometime.
him to Findorn, put him in a bin bag and throw him out to sea.
It's Findhorn anyway, but never mind.
I thought you fancied him.
Findorn. Findorn!
Right, so this is an open invitation to all our listeners on the After Dark Podcast Network to come and join us for an aliens probing.
This is my favourite podcast on the
Oh,
network.
You
you
keep
know
saying
what?
that.
That would be the perfect episode if we can to get that flat earther on, because that would just be hilarious
Shall we?
to see what they think about aliens.
Or he believes in aliens.
Of course.
Where do they come from?
Why wouldn't you?
How do you get here if the Earth's flat and within a dome? How do aliens get here?
Yeah.
You must just bounce off the dome. The planet Earth. Oh, it's not
Like, do
a
they
planet.
think like the sky is a painting? That sort of thing.
You haven't seen the Truman Show, have you?
I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
He told me the sun is just a big light in the sky, and I'm like, who turns it on and off? Honest to God, get him on.
That would be a good one to get him on. That would be because like the rest of them we have pretty serious things, but aliens you can kind of fuck about with.
You are Fixer.
You can, yeah, I'll fix it. You can broaden it to conspiracy theories, couldn't you?
Yeah.
We're going to be
incorporate everything.
This is going to be recording on the 26th, so 2 weeks today.
See if they're available.
Yeah,
and that might happen.
Indeed. I'm going to have to go very soon.
Go on then. Let's wind it up.
Lest I sit in a pool of urine.
Just piss in a bottle. That's what I do.
Have you been doing that the whole time?
I can't. It's the next too narrow.
I've just shat in a Pringles box as well.
That reminds me, we got peri peri Pringles that I want to try.
What?
Piri piri chicken Pringles.
Right. I've been the Podfather.
I've been Firebolt.
And I've been the Orbiter.
And this has been Breaking Bollocks, episode 52?
What was it about again?
53. Is it
53. 53.
53.
Exploitation.
Yeah, because we had the election special. Right, that's...
The erection special.
Mm-hmm.
That's Chinese for election special.
You racist.
I've closed the browser and I've got to go for a piss. I'm going to go.
Right.
Cheers, it's
boys.
been a good one. See you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
See you later.
Sometime.
Ta, 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 ta.
Bye.
Oh.
What a wanker.
This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast Network.